Hello there everyone, and welcome back to the Spigot coding series. Today, as promised last week, we are going to go over particle effects. And, well, let's just get started instantly. I don't want to waste any more time. So the very first thing we're going to do today is a particle effect around the player, if the player is actually moving. And I'm also going to add a small particle effect to this bunny hop item as well. So yeah, let's start by adding a new class right here, which I'm going to call the player particle listener. And in here, I'm going to implement listener as per usual. And our very first event, so we want to display a particle if the player is moving. So fitting to that, there's of course a public void on player move. Remember, you can call this anything you want. And this is going to be a player move event. So one thing about the player move event, it also triggers if you just move your head around like this. So you don't need to move physically, you can just move your head around and this event will trigger. First of all, what we need to do is, let me just do location from equals eget from location to eget to. Very first thing you want to check, so the plugin doesn't throw any unnecessary errors, because to calculate the distance between these two locations, we have to first of all check if the player is actually like moving from to the same world. So if from get world equals to get world, and then of course if not, so if the player's world moving from moving to is not the same, just do nothing. And then now we want to check if the player is actually moving. So we can easily do this by checking if from distance to is greater than 0. Well, if this is equals to 0, we just want to do nothing again. Alright, this is pretty much the baseline for us checking if the player is actually moving. Now let's display the particle. So I'm going to get the player P equals the player, and the world W is the player's world. And now there's two different ways to actually display the particle. The method is called spawn particle. It exists in the player class and in the world class, or well, the entity class and the world class. If you do p.spawn particle, it will actually just show for the player. But if you do world.spawn particle, it will display to every player that is in the world. And since I want everyone to see this, I'm going to use the world spawn particle method. There is a lot to do here. It really changes depending on the particle you use as well. The main thing you want to use is particle, location, amount. Then, let me check because there's so many things here. I keep forgetting which one I actually have to use. Okay, then X offset, Y offset, C offset, and speed. This is like the main thing you use all the time. Then as you can see, there's something like nullable extends object right here. Some particles, for example, the particle.dust needs an extra configurable object here, which is called new dust options, which you have to configure. So you need to put in a color and a size of the particle. Some particles definitely need this. The item particle needs the item stack. The block particle needs a block data. So you have to be really careful about this. All right, let's just do a particle dot, let's just do flame right here, or soulfire flame. That's a really nice particle. I want to display two particles at the same time. The location first. So P get location. Then I want the amount, which in this case is 2. Then the X offset 1, Y offset 1, C offset 1, and the speed is going to be 0.15. Alright, now to test this, let me of course just register our event class right here. So player particle listener. And let's package this, upload to the server, and let's see if this already works. Alright, I reloaded the server, so if I move my head around, you see nothing works. But if I actually move my player around, as you can see, the particles actually spawn. You can see this kind of like wild and messy right now. So the particles just shooting off is me setting the speed to 0.1. Now, two things I'm going to tweak about this code. First of all, I'm going to do 0 on the speed, so the particles pretty much don't move. And I actually want the particle to be perfectly around the player model. You see the hitbox right here? I want the particles to be perfectly around this. How do we do this? Somewhat simple. The player or every entity has a bounding box. The bounding box is pretty much just a hitbox right here. So what I can do now is call bounding box b equals to p.getBoundingBox. And now if I want to center this, it's really simple. Just get the player's feet location and add 0 on the x-axis, b.getHeight divided by 2, so the entire height of the bounding box. So we start off up here, half this, so we're in the middle of the player model now. And then on the z-axis 0 as well. Now we can also center the x, y, and z offset pretty easily. Only thing we have to do is b.getWidthX divided by 2, the b.getHeight divided by 4. Oh, sorry, I meant divided by 2, of course. I don't know why I got to divided by 4 there. And then the b.getWidthC. And also divide that by 2 as well. So this will now set the location of the particle to the player's center location, because the player's center location is always in the middle. Unlike blocks where it's like in the lower left corner, set that to the middle. And then take the bounding box's location or width and divide all of that by 2. And this should now perfectly cover our player model. So let me repackage this real quick. Yes, I deleted the speed parameter by accident right here. So particle, location, amount, XYZ, and the speed. Yes, I accidentally deleted the speed parameter. There we go. And yeah, as you can see, the particle is now perfectly centered around our player. The Y-axis is a bit higher, but one tricky, now I know why the divided by 4 earlier. One easy workaround I usually do is divide this actually by 4, the height. Because the height is a bit taller than it's supposed to be. Now if I do divide it by 4, you see some particles still are too high. But you can see our particle is like actually inside of the bounding box this time. So yeah, now we have a particle that is perfectly covering our player model. And it's only happening whilst we are moving. Now, if you want to limit this to only specific people, like with a permission, for example, what you can do here as well is you can either do if player does not have permission, and then just like the string of the permission, for example, particle fire, or you can also just check if the player is not OP. And this will also then not display the particle effect, except if they have the permission or if they're operator. Now let's just copy paste this code right here and put it right into the bunny hop. Click. So I'm just going to get the word of the player right here. I want the particle to be displayed at the player's feet. And let's actually do the bounding box b equals p get bounding box here. And I want the particle to be spread on the x and z axis. Y axis should stay on 0. Particle amount 100. And I want the particle to have a small bit of speed. And I'm going to change this from Soulflyer Flame to Android, because Android is by far, if not my most favorite particle in the game. So yeah, let's repackage this. Upload. If I reload now, and if I right click with the bunny hop now, you can see the particle effect is also playing perfectly now. So yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know about particle effects. Next week's topic I still have to think about actually, but we are going to do something really nice there. Maybe we're going to do the commands this time, because I noticed that we haven't done commands yet. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you next time again. Goodbye.